Hello. In the last tutorial we had a look at making our own website. This video is going to be a recap on that. The website we're going to make is this one. The background images are provided, as well as some of the textures. The rest of it we're going to make from scratch. The content is also available in the folder. This folder is available on Moodle for you to download. If we look in this folder, we can see we've got a folder for images and also a notepad document containing all the content. Later we're going to copy and paste this in, but now we'll leave it as it is. In images we've got the background, linked background and menu link. These are all PNG files. The one image you're going to take into Photoshop is the preview. So, just right click, go open this up in Photoshop. I'm using Photoshop CS5. You'll most likely be using CS6 or CS4. But the basics are all the same. Now what we really want is to be able to pick the colours. We can start analysing this document at the moment. Here we have different sections. We have the content, and as you can see the content, it's white with a dark red border, and also got a curve on the side. In the past, you used to break this up into sections of images in Photoshop and then export them as PNG files. But now we don't have to do that since the new developments in CS6 and with cascading styling sheet code. We also have the sidebar. Again, we can use the same method, and we have these gradient sections provided. As the rest, we also have a menu, another menu here containing all the buttons. We can use the list code to create this. And finally, the header. We're not going to include this section here, we're just going to go for the sleek red text right there. Alternatively, you could recreate this in Photoshop and just bring it in as a see-through image. You'll notice that we do not have a footer down here. That is entirely missing, so we don't need to worry about that. One thing we are going to do, we are going to select two colours that we're going to use, namely the dark red colour, which features as the border around here, and also the light pink shade. So I'm going to use the eyedropper. You usually find it right here. You can also press I on your keyboard. I'm going to select the dark red colour, and if you go over to your colour swatches, if I can find mine, or double click on your main colour here, the main thing that we want is the RGB right here. So I'm going to copy this, open up a new notepad document, and just let myself know what it is. Dark red, and place the RGB there. During the lesson, everyone selected the colour for the bottom here, but I realised that the background colour continues further, so I'm going to open this up. I'm just going to cancel there. So here we have the background image. If I zoom in a bit, we can start seeing, if we scroll down a bit, we can see we have an even lighter colour at the bottom. This is what I'm going to select here. And again, here's the RGB, so it's FA CF CF. So I'm going to copy that and place in my notepad. So So there's the colours we're going to need. So I'm going to cancel this. At this point you could close, I'm going to close this background for now. I'm going to leave this here. Really you could close this down because we don't need to do much to this. Or later on you can measure it with the ruler settings here just to find the shape of it. But for now we're going to leave it. Now in Dreamweaver, here you should have your normal page ready to go. This section will probably be empty for you, but I'm on my personal computer, so I've got all my pages here. First off, we're going to link up the folders so that we get our files. I'll just drag this. So we have files there. At the moment it's set to a different folder, but I'm going to recreate one for today. So you go to Site, New Site, because it's a brand new site. And we're going to find our folder first of all. So browse for folder. And find out wherever you placed it. For me it's in my libraries and website. Slick Red. Open. Now make sure you have selected Sleek Red. In some instances you might have the folder previous to this, so you might have to go even further in. But for now, I'm happy with that. Select it, and I'm going to call this one Sleek Red. And press Save. Now if we notice down here in my files, we have the images and the content. So that's nicely set up. All we have to do now is create our new template. To create a template, in the Create New section in Dreamweaver, we're going to scroll down to More. Here we have a new document. We're going to be creating a HTML document. You could create a template, but for now we're going to stick with HTML. The template document is very different and, in my opinion, more complicated. Your life will be much simpler with a HTML page. So for now we're going to scroll through these, and I want to go with a fixed one so it doesn't change scale when I change the size of my screen, but it has nothing else to it. So let's have a look. Okay, we've got a header and footer, but I need a sidebar as well, so I'm going to carry on. Here we go. So we want 2-column fixed left sidebar, header and footer. Now before you press create, there's one little change we've got to make. Down in layout CSS, by default it wants to add it to the head of the HTML page. Well, that's not really going to help us, because if you want to create multiple websites, you're going to have to save it as a separate document. So for now, create a new file, and hopefully it should prop up with a prompt wanting us to give it a new name. So we're going to create. Here's a prompt asking me where to save it to, and because I linked my folders earlier, by default it's going to the Sleek Red folder. For mine, I'm going to call it simply style.css. Sometimes you don't have to give the extension because it recognizes a CSS, but in the past I found that Dreamweaver can sometimes go a bit funny with your file format, so I'm going to keep it as that for now. So save, and hopefully if I refresh my files here, we can see that it's sitting right there. Another thing I'm going to do, I'm going to tidy up this section right here because we don't need Adobe Lab. So I'm going to click this and close Group Tab. Insert, I'm going to snap that onto there. We might want to insert pictures, etc. And Business Catalyst, don't need you, goodbye. So all we need is the files and the style, and maybe we might use insert later. AP elements, don't think we're going to use it, but we'll leave that there. It's sometimes handy. So here's our web page. If I zoom out by pressing Ctrl and minus, you can see we've got this unappealing grey background. We also got the content. Try and click the Can I click? That's the container. It is really, if you want better control over what you're clicking, just try and put my cursor in here. You can see down at the bottom, I can click on body, container, and header. The body is this well, I say lovely, this grey, horrible grey background. The container doesn't really have a colour. Well, I think this one does, but generally the ones I create, they don't. It just holds the header, the container, the sidebar, all within this square or rectangular box here. The header is just this section here. So you can click through these and select which parts you want to work with. First of all, I think it would be best to create our background. But before we do anything, we're going to need to save this. So go to File, Save As, and by default, since this is going to be your home page, index.html. By default here, it's giving you a selection of HTML documents, and if I hover over, we can see all the extensions. There's lots of them, but I want to be very specific with what I'm saving it to, so remember the .html. I'm in the sleek red folder, so save. And the wonderful thing with CS6, I can flick between style or my HTML code. I'm going to stick with the design view for now. So I want to work first of all with the body, so that's this grey background. To easily get this, I'm going to click on body, and over in CS styles you have the option of having all of them, where you can click and go for each of these. These are all the individual division tag styles, or you can click on current. Since I've got body selected, it's going to be my current. And here we can see this fabulous, horrible background color. Now if you remember, in a separate notepad document, I went for a light pink RGB color. So I'm going to get that up. I'm going to copy this, put it away, and what I'm going to do, I'm going to double click on body. Now remember, if you open it up in the rules section here, you get this new window pop up. We want to work with the background, so open the background tab, and in here I can replace the numbers. Remember to keep the hash at the beginning. That states that I am an RGB color. Paste, apply, and you can see we've got this pink background. You could also do it manually down here. Oh, so I'll just click OK for now. I could do it manually here and it would do the same job, but for better control, I prefer using this window. Another thing I can do as well, I can add a background image, which is what I want to do. So I'm going to click Browse, go to Images, and here we have background. If I select it, you should get an image preview. Now you may wonder, why is it a thin strip of colour there? Well, it'll reveal all in a moment. You can imagine a thin strip of colour is a very small file, and here I have the option of repeating this background. Now this is where the magic happens. If you want a gradient or maybe a coloured background, or mostly gradients, you can save it as a thin strip. So that means the file will be very small. Actually, let's have a look how small the file is. 1 kilobyte. That is tiny. So you can imagine people with poor internet, they can load this instantly. We're going to repeat this background by X. X is going left to right. Y, up and down. We want left to right. Click Apply just to make sure. Now the only issue with the preview file is that we don't see it, which is annoying. You think, oh no, it hasn't worked. If I click on Live and zoom, let's see, can I move around or zoom out? Control minus to zoom out. We can see it has worked. It's just for some reason when we're not in the live view, we don't see it. As to why that happens, I'm not sure, but usually when you're not in a live view, you get I suppose a lower quality file that's easy and faster to work with, which is probably why it does this. So click off live. I know it works. Actually, I'm going to click live again. Go scroll down to see. Well, that seems seamless. I can't tell where the gradient starts or ends. To really test this, I'm going to zoom out quite a bit. There we go. Zoom back in. I'm going to change it down here to 100%. Well, actually, I'll still stick with 66. There we go, that's better. So I'm going to get a live view. Now you'll notice here, Styles has a little star next to it. It's telling you, I need saving. I'm not updated yet. So go right, go File, Save All. This will save every file that you have open in Dreamweaver. We want to do that, and there we go. All saved up. Next thing we're going to do, we're going to get rid of this green background. And another thing I'm going to get rid of is this insert logo bit. We don't need it. So I'm going to delete that. We're also going to get rid of this header background here. So I'm going to click on header. So there we go. Select it. So if I double click, go to background. Now if we look to the image, the gradient is providing the background for us. So we can delete the color that we have. So I'm going to highlight it, delete, and apply. Okay. And I'm just going to type in header in there for now, just to give it a bit of space. Click to live. Oh dear, we've got this white section here. Okay. Let's get our live. Now where is this white section coming from? So if we look at this, we've sorted out the body, we've done the header, we haven't looked at the container. So let's have a look at this. Container, background. And yes, here's the culprit with the white background. So I'm going to delete that. Apply. And there we go. For some reason this section we can see the gradient, and yes, it's gone. We're also going to do the same with the sidebar. So I'm able to click on the bottom and select sidebar 1, double click on it, background, and delete. We're going to add an image background later, but for now I'm going to leave it see-through. Now the only problem with having a gradient background is now I can't see my container. What we're going to do next, we're going to change the size of it, add a color background and a border, and then I'm going to show you how you can add a curved edge to your container, well, to your content, sorry. Okay, to get what we want, click anywhere in here. Now you can see I've got paragraph, content, container, and body. Well, the one we want to work with is content. So I'm going to click on this. You can see it's selecting this whole section. I'm going to double click on content here. And now I can play around. I'm going to move this to the side here so I can keep watch of what I'm doing here. So first off, we're going to add a background. It's going to be white. So I can click on this drop down and add the color I want, which is #FFF. Click apply. Yep, it's done that. Another thing we're going to do, we're going to reduce the size of this. The reason for this is because at the moment it fits a bit too snug into there. So if we add a border, it's going to add a section to the edge, making the content wider. And if it gets wider, it's going to be too wide to fit the slot into this section here, so it's going to be pushed down to the bottom of our page. We don't want that to happen. We want to give it a bit of breathing room. So I'm going to go to block, not block, sorry, box. And for now, just for the time being, we're going to set to 700 pixels width. Apply. You see it's had a bit of fat removed there. Now if we have a look here, we've got padding, so the top and bottom, you can see this little speckled grey there. That's the padding pushing your content down a bit. The right and left have nothing, and there's nothing in the margin. We're most likely going to change this later, but for now we want to focus on the border. So right now we've got style, width and colour. We're going to add the colour first, so we're going to work backwards. Now remember, we copied this dark red, which is 420001. So copy that, get rid of that. And remember, every colour needs a hash. I'm going to paste in my colour, leave same for all, which means it's going to make the top, right, bottom and left the same colour. Click apply. We're not seeing anything yet because we haven't set our width. So we see our width, we can set it as thin, medium, thick. I'm going to try thick for now. And finally for style, you've got the option of none, dotted, dash, solid, double, groove, ridge, inset and outset. Well, I just want a simple simple solid one for now. So we're going to leave it as that. All of them the same for all, ticked. And click apply. Oh, move this out of the way. I feel it's a bit too thick, so I want to play around with the value of this for a little bit. You can click on value and we can give it a numbered value. I'm going to try 10. That is thicker. Okay, less. Let's try going 6. Okay, compare it to the original image. Could do actually make it a bit thicker though. So let's try it back to 7. Yeah, 7 looks like a nice number value. I always find using numbers much better because different web browsers may interpret your thickness differently. But with pixels, you can never go wrong. You're being more specific. So I'm going to click OK. Now, to finish off, we're going to tell you how to get that curved edge. I'm going to show you 2 ways of doing this because in CS6 you have the code provided for you, but if you're using CS4, you're going to have to do it manually. So I'm going to show you how to do it for CS6. We've got content here, and we've got properties for content. So we've got all the border, we've got color, border, is floating to the left, etc. Width. We want to add a property. If I click the drop down, I can look at all these different properties I have. You're going to find the border radius. If I scroll around a bit, here we go, border radius. So I'm going to try 10. Now we're not going to see anything in the preview, so let's try going live. Nothing as yet. Okay, I'm going to try something extreme. I'm going to try going to 100. Oh, remember to save all. Sometimes if you don't have the CS file saved, you might accidentally not have your style loading up. It might happen sometimes, and other times you're going to be lucky. But to make sure everything's working, remember to save. Let's click live again. Still nothing. Okay. I'm going to try a different approach. I'm going to go to preview, so see this world icon here? This allows me to preview in browsers. I'm going to choose in Chrome. In college you could use Internet Explorer, but unfortunately it's the old one, so it's not going to load in the code. Just wait a moment. It hasn't loaded it as yet. Let's try 200. Okay. Oh, there we go. It's starting to work, but it's working too much now. So we're going to have to reduce the value. So I'm just going to go back to Dreamweaver. So let's scroll down. I'm going to go design view, sorry. And we're in content. Where's the border radius? Moved. Ah, here it is. So let's try 150. Remember to put. Ah, I see the problem from earlier. I forgot to add the px to say it's a pixel, so maybe that's why it wasn't working last time. To test this view, I'm just going to click live. Yep, that was the problem. That's why it wasn't working, because I forgot to put the px in there. So let's actually try 100. Getting better. Let's have a look at the preview. Still too rounded. Could do a bit better. Let's try 80. Even in live view, you can change the value and it'll update it automatically. I think 80 is still a bit much. Let's try 60. Is 60 right? No, not quite right. 40. How about 20? Ooh, that looks like it. Let's have a look. Yeah. For me, that looks about right. We can actually make the border a bit thicker. So you can see above it, we got border. Gonna change the thickness to 8. Yeah, that's a lot better. Yes, that looks a lot. Yeah, the thickness there, it looks identical there. So hopefully now you should have something that looks like this. Now, for those who don't have the drop down, well, don't have the option of adding it in the add properties, you're going to have to do this manually. So I'm just going to click on radius, remember 20 pixels. Going to delete, oh, not turn it off, delete it. Oh, for goodness sakes. Sorry, my mistake there. Delete it. There we go. So now this is back to normal. Go out alive. And now we're going to have to go to split view. Go to CS style. And we're going to have to try and find the code for the content. So I'm going to scroll down a bit. We can see body. No. What's it? Header 1, 2. No, that's not it. Image border. No. Link. No. Visited. No. Container, no. Getting closer. Header, nothing. No, don't want that. Sidebar. Ah, content. This is what we want. So now with this, you're going to have to type it in manually. Border dash radius. If you're using CS4, you're not going to have this popping up. So remember, border dash radius, colon, then type in your number value. So earlier it was 20. So 20, and don't forget the pixels, px, semicolon. So now, if I save this, save all, go live, we get the edge. So there you go for the first lesson. Next we're going to be playing around with getting our content in place, sorting out the header, and also sorting out these links.